Welcome to the Therapists Uncut Podcast, where off-the-clock therapists who happen to be friends share their uncensored thoughts about real life. Join us weekly in spreading positivity and making mental health relatable through casual conversation, inspirational stories, and real talk with friends who happen to be therapists. Please welcome your co-hosts, Nikki Young and Alyssa Nahara.
Good morning, afternoon, and night. Welcome back to Therapists Uncut. I am here, Nikki Young, with my fabulous co-host, Alyssa Nahara, aka Alyssa, whom I have dubbed Alyssa because of her wonderful therapeutic voice. We are so glad that you are back. We're having fun today. We are glad that you are joining us. We are going to continue to have fun today as we talk about talking. That's what's up today.
I don't even know where to go from there because I think I'm just surprised that we're even talking about this, but it makes so much sense. We have been in a space where we had a country shut down. And if you are in a country that shut down, then you will understand what we're talking about. We had a country shut down because of the pandemic. We got incredibly isolated. We were told to socially distance when really what we wanted was physical distance. We always wanted everyone to keep their social connectedness.
There's an episode on that.
Full episode,
Check it
guys.
out. Yeah.
And now here we are, and our country is opening back up. So now here we are in a space where everything's opening back up, which is great. We want to go back to the normal of being around people, right? I think in one episode very early on, I even mentioned how beautiful it was to hear somebody else's voice that was not somebody in my household because we were so isolated from everyone. But now,
so it's great to hear their voice, but what about when you realized you had to respond to them? Wait,
respond to who?
The person that you heard their voice outside your household.
Oh, but I didn't. They were driving by on a motorcycle. I could hear him talking to whoever was on the back seat, and I was like, that's just so beautiful.
Okay. So there was no reciprocal pressure in that moment. But I'm assuming that since then you have now had some experiences where you've had to communicate.
Correct. And on a random side note, when we get excited, you're going to hear a lot of extra noises. Apparently, I like to slap my knee, and I just caught myself like stomping on the floor because I was laughing so hard. I'm sorry if this is not music to your ears, but life is good. I'm here with Nikki. I'm here with you guys. We're excited. We're going to talk about how to talk to people after coming out of this COVID shutdown, because no matter how functioning and quote successful and awesome you are, there's a little bit of awkwardness and a little bit of anxiety around almost reintroducing ourselves back into a place full of tons of people, because we haven't been around tons of people in the last year.
It's weird, right? As I'm starting to go back to normal and go back to more functions and more interactions, I would have considered myself a solid extrovert, like solidly on the extroverted side of the scale. And now I'm a little bit it's starting to get better now that it's, been some time, but I am exhausted after minimal interactions, or I'll hang out with friends, vaccinated and following appropriate protocols. However, I feel way more exhausted by it than I ever would have in the past. And there's been interactions. I asked my wife, she gives me crap and teases me about it, but I'm the person that can have a conversation with anyone. And I find that in situations where normally conversation might have flowed quite easily for me, now I'm feeling like, okay, what do I say next?
We're just sitting in silence and joining the fact that I can physically be next to you. We're grateful for the opportunity.
Can I just stand next to you? Can we not say anything?
Baby steps. But truly, some of us might need to take baby steps I can't think of a better word other than reintegrate. It sounds so formal and not exciting.
No, but it's accurate. We are reintegrating into society. Humans who are supposed to be social beings are reintegrating into society, and there's going to be some bumps along the way. I remember the first interaction that I had after having, like you said, majorly shut down and locked up was I don't even remember what store, but I was in a store to where I had to ask a question. Like I couldn't just go buy groceries. I forget where I was. I had to ask the individual a question. And it was right after the store had opened back up. And it was just the most awkward. Oh, I remember what it was. It was a restaurant. They had just opened back up. We were going for the first time. And I asked a question about the menu. And you could tell that both of us were just like, oh, that's right. I have to ask you about this. And then the waiter was like, it was just super awkward. Now, it was a restaurant that I had frequented for years. I knew this person. I had seen them a year prior before COVID, right? And it was just the most awkward, uncomfortable thing. And I went back to the table and told Stacy about it. And we just sat there and kind of laughed like, well, this is going to be weird.
It's going to be a new adventure for all of us. I like to tell people what you practice grows stronger. That applies to negative habits you have, that applies to positive habits you have. But if we have not been practicing in-person socialization for an extended period of time, we're kind of losing, or at least we're at the possibility of losing some of these basic social skills that we used to be pretty good at. And now we're just a little, I don't know.
A little rusty.
A little rusty. We spent a lot of time with our clients adjusting to everything that came out of this pandemic and adjusting to being removed. And now in our clinical settings, we're talking about baby steps of, okay, now you're going to go back to school full time, full of hundreds of people. Add the fact that there is still this overlying anxiety of the pandemic being present and the different strains that are coming out. It's just so many mixed emotions that it's hard to put words on.
Mm-hmm. We are rusty and we are out of practice. Kind of like that 68 Camaro sitting in your dad's back lot that he won't sell me. So just saying.
Oh, my dad does not know how famous he is on this podcast. One day I am going to tell him. Talk about that guy all the time. I love you, Dad. All right. How do we get better? How do we accept these feelings or acknowledge these feelings? And what do we do about them?
You're asking me?
I don't
know.
I don't have an answer. I was hoping
I was the one that couldn't order something from a menu. So,
all right, let's talk this through. I guess we start with acknowledging, right? We always talk about self-awareness,
which we always do, right?
Yeah, it's our favorite topic, apparently.
So
yeah, acknowledge the feelings that are coming up. Acknowledge that you're probably and highly likely not the only one experiencing these uncomfortable feelings, whether you're feeling uncomfortable or nervous or confused by somebody's response or body language. Don't take it personal. We are all trying to figure this out, and we will in time.
Yeah. And maybe some acknowledgement that coming out of this, you may not be exactly the person that you were prior to. So if you have always, and maybe not hanging on to that label. So if you've always identified as an introvert, and you are craving some socialization right now, that could be a little confusing for you, right? Like, no, wait, I don't like people. Why do I? No, wait, but I feel this strong desire to go eat in a public setting where there's lots of people, right? That might
Please don't talk to me.
Or I just want to go let's have a party. Like, let's have a rager. I want to be crazy. And if that's not you, a rager, where did that come from? Maybe not hanging on so tight to these identities that we have always, these personas that we've always identified with, right? So like I said, I would have thought I was a solid extrovert. I am having some moments where I'm not super, don't get me wrong, I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm a little tired by some of these social interactions when I historically would not have been. So recognizing that we might respond differently coming out of this than we might typically have responded had we not been locked up for a year.
And reminding you that there is nothing wrong with you. We are all trying to figure this out again. Nikki and I are licensed therapists, grown-ass adults, and we're like, this is weird.
And just to clarify, locked up because of lockdown, because of COVID. I was not imprisoned for a year. I am still a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have not gone off. Okay. Just to clarify, I realized how that sounded.
Nikki was not incarcerated, guys. Dang, but if you were, that would be a great story. I'd interview you. Sure. Raise your hand if you want to hear that story.
What would I be incarcerated for? Let's play this game.
Question of the day. We like to give you guys challenges. Today's challenge is, if you were to be incarcerated, what would you be incarcerated for?
And now let's turn this into something positive. What can we learn from this?
What can we learn? Don't get arrested, guys.
Yeah, what can we learn from this exercise?
We digress. We apologize. I think it's been a while since we squirreled pretty hard. So back to our topic of learning how to talk as we come out of this phase. What kind of boundaries do we need to consider?
I think that, so physical boundaries have always been a aspect of communication, right? Depending on the level of relationship, the type of relationship, there's different physical proximities that would be considered appropriate in society. We've now completely messed with that because of physical distancing, right? And we've expected individual. Alyssa's got a story. I can see it all over her face.
I'm like, how do you know my life? Like, in our culture, we hug. We're huggers. It's what you do. It wasn't until I was an adult that I realized not everybody is a hugger, and you should really get permission before you touch anybody or allow anyone.
That's what you went to jail for. I just figured it out.
I have the wrong person. That's what happened. And now we're in this place that I am still adjusting to not hugging people. And then when I do, I'm like, ooh, my bad. I should have asked you first. Like, I don't even know where you are in life right now with hugs, but I just overstep. So I'm weird about hugging right now. I'm struggling.
That's a huge one, right? And that may not be verbal, but that's nonverbal communication. And that's huge.
And not only did I hug, but I did a little sniffle as I hugged you, and everybody's freaking out because they don't know what I got. A little sniffle.
Oh, sniffle.
A little sniffle,
Okay.
Things are weird.
Don't sneeze, don't cough, don't sniffle. Because
so much judgment.
Definitely some judgment and fear attached there. Yeah.
Speaking of sneezing, you go out in public and now there's legitimate judgment that is attached to any cough, sneeze.
It's like leprosy in a way.
Well, where did our minds go? We got to bring it back. We got to reel it in. Keep all of the good stuff that we learned over the last year, like empathy and humanity, but really work on the other stuff that we can improve.
And I'm thinking about a conversation I had with our kid, and she's a cool one. She's one of those kids that's starting to figure out who she is in the world and pretty damn insightful for her age. And we were driving home the other day, and COVID got brought up, and she said something along the lines of, you know what? Obviously, I've hated this last year, and I'm ready for everything to be over. But you know what? There's a part of me that thinks the world was kind of, and I don't think she said it quite like, I know she didn't say it quite like this, but essentially the world was losing its shit and losing its mind. And part of me thinks that this was just a way to kind of stop the world in its tracks and make us think about who we are as people. And hopefully we will learn a lesson. So as we go back to life, we can be better people. And I was just like, kid, if everyone got it the way you got it, and the world would be a pretty cool place. But exactly, like, how do we, clearly this is the child of two therapists, but who insists she doesn't want to be a therapist when she grows up, but don't tell her. Mom and I are like, we think you're going to be a therapist. We fully support whatever path her life takes. However, she's got the package. So totally, like, how can we take lessons that we have learned about humanity and communication and apply these? And if we circle back really quick to the physical boundaries, not just hugging, but also we've had this expectation that we talk to you across, this significant span of space. At what point do we close the gap a little bit? Do we close the gap a little bit? Are we going to overclose the gap because we missed human contact? And now you're just violating every societal norm that ever was, regardless of pre or post COVID, which I've had that a couple times, right? Like, okay, you're in my bubble. Not my COVID bubble, just my Nikki bubble.
Just like, my personal bubble. Yes. Be really conscious of what you are okay with and what you're not okay with, and be aware of the steps that you want to take to get to wherever you want to be. If you've now realized that your personality, I don't think that's the right word. I think you said persona, like introvert versus extrovert, has shifted. Cool. No problem. You can still be polite and sociable and respectful and all of these other great things by being now what you weren't before. Just be willing to acknowledge and accept and be aware of these changes that are happening within you, remembering that there is nothing wrong with you. We are all trying to reintroduce ourselves back into this, what we used to call, dang it, not normal. I stuck at words today. What we used to call pre-COVID life. I don't know. I actually got the I would say privilege at this point. I would never have called this a privilege before 2020, but I got the privilege to attend my niece's graduation in person. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I am a very emotional person. And so when these high school students were giving their speeches about everything that's happened in the last year,
You did not run up on stage and hug them.
If I could, I probably would have.
Just check it.
I would have considered it. But I was teary-eyed because I'm like, dang, the little things in life that we took for granted. Like, I want to continue to keep this gratitude and appreciation. The fact that I could be here in person with all of these people. We were still pretty safely distanced. It was a pretty large stage arena. But it felt so good. So keep your gratitude, keep your appreciation for the small things that you came to recognize and reappreciate over the last several months, and keep being grateful. I just dropped in.
Voice.
I know. I don't want to say anything after. I just dropped into my low voice.
Like, I don't even want to speak after. I just want to let it ride.
It's like when we interviewed Natalie Silva and she said this profound thing, or Dave Chaplin, and we were all silent. They were waiting for the next question, and we were like, "Damn, that was good." Just let it ride.
So as we keep our gratitude moving forward, I think, surprise, we're going to talk about self-awareness, as we always do, not just self-awareness, but other awareness. So I remember when it was early on and I was going a little stir crazy, I went into the office to check the mail. Nobody was working from the office. We were just showing up to check our boxes. And at the same exact time, one of my colleagues was there checking their mailbox. And I remember just verbally vomiting, just so excited to see somebody outside of, I love my wife and kids, but outside of them, that I just bleh. And then I realized that I had just totally monologued for, I don't even know how long. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. So having someone, and they were okay. And they were like, no, it's all good.
Your therapist friends are good listeners. You're good.
Right. So grateful. But no, yeah, other awareness of those social cues, right? Like, when is somebody done? When does somebody need more? When is somebody backing up from you? When is somebody approaching you? Just awareness. It's going to take some active energy to reintegrate. And some people are listening to us right now going, the fuck? I'm good. But I know what y'all are. I don't know what experience you guys are having, but I'm fine. And some people are listening to this going, yes, I get it. So everybody's at a different spot in life with this, but we wanted to give space to something that we both recognized has been an experience we never anticipated having.
That's for sure. And you guys got this. You are completely capable of readjusting. It's a part of your resiliency factor. You will do it in time. Just be gracious to yourself.
Exactly, right? Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, have patience, and we will get through this. But as always, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We appreciate you. Nikki and Alyssa here to make mental health relatable and a part of everyday conversation. Therapists Uncut is out. Be sure to like, subscribe, send us any material you'd like us to cover, and have a great day.
See you guys next time.
Thank you for joining Therapists Uncut, a production of AMP Smart Business. To learn more about Therapists Uncut and stay up on upcoming episodes, please subscribe and follow us on social media. As a reminder, although the Therapists Uncut co-hosts are licensed therapists, they are not your therapists. This podcast is not intended to substitute professional mental health counseling. If you need professional therapy, please contact your local provider or primary care provider. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Therapists Uncut.